Well, you guys got the spending package passed, and that's a good thing. I kind of wanted to get your takes on it, and just what do you feel good that's in there, and what do you wish had gotten in there?
Well, it was certainly a very tight spending year, and it's part of a deal worked out between the speaker, the Senate, and the president. But I can tell you, I really focused on making sure the most important things were sustained in the bill that I control, the Interior bill, and that is things such as maintaining our national park system, our ability to do forest management reduce the risk of fires, and ability to fight fires, among many other things. And I am pleased with the package, but what I'm particularly pleased about are the community projects that are funded. All across Oregon, my team reached out to communities and said, what's your top priority? Those came back primarily in housing and water, in mental health, and in childcare. And over 100 of those projects that communities said it's our priority will now be funded.
You mentioned obviously a lot of projects revolving around water. I wanted to ask, there was I think $750,000 or so on dredging in the port of Coos Bay, and obviously the port of Coos Bay has been a big focus in our area. I know obviously you've done a lot of work pushing for that. Kind of where you see that going and why it was important to get some money in there.
Well, absolutely. Well, dredging is part of the process for all of our coastal ports to remain viable. And most of them are dredged at least once every 2 years. And in my role, I've been really fighting to make sure that for safety and for commerce and for recreation, the ports stay functional. In Coos Bay, of course, we're also looking towards the possibility of having a container port, but that would be a different level of dredging activity to make that happen. Meanwhile, though, the community's projects are primarily in the area of clean water supply and wastewater treatment. And those types of infrastructure, of course, there's new standards as we have new pollutants. We have very old systems and it's very expensive per person. So particularly our smaller communities need a lot of help to be able to afford to put that new infrastructure in place.
Wanted to ask, Governor Kotek just recently asked President Biden to acknowledge the emergency regarding January's ice storm. I know you put out a statement today, and you had said you're going to push for obviously federal money. Was Governor Kotek's request? Do you feel like that is something the federal government can meet, FEMA can meet, and how will you move forward with pushing for that money?
Yes, so the state proceeds to have to compile all the information that shows that the disaster was large enough to qualify. That's what the governor's team did. They got the letter to us on Tuesday. We got all of the members of the Oregon delegation on board and got the letter shipped from us, presenting that to the administration yesterday. So I really appreciate all my colleagues having responded quickly. We were rounding them up fast. We didn't want to waste a single day in going forward because we have such significant damage to 11 counties and additional damage to other counties, big impact on infrastructure, big impact on small businesses. So I do feel like the state did a great job putting together their case, and now we're going to push because it often takes a long time. This is where we go to we do not want it to fall into some void never to be found. We've got to keep saying, where is it? Have you analyzed it? And they'll keep saying, no, no, we're on it. We're on it. It's the top of our list. We want to keep it on the top of their list.
So do you have that communication then with the FEMA administrators, or is it really you working through the Biden administration to get to them? What's your role in that?
Well, FEMA is the part of the Biden administration that does this. Yes. And I will be directly communicating to the head of FEMA.
We have recently been hearing from some of our viewers just about how we are 2 months removed from that ice storm, but people still feeling the impacts very much of it, and not even those who maybe lost a home or had damage to their home. I mean, if you still drive around, you're still seeing debris, all over the place, and trees still down. So I just kind of wonder, what has your feedback been from your constituents? Because I would imagine you've heard some of the similar things that we've heard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the damage was widespread, but down in Lane County was one of the hardest hit, the thickest layer of ice, the heaviest breaking of branches and power lines and so forth. So, no, I hear about it everywhere I go. And of course, we're encouraging people to share their stories.
Off topic, obviously, there's been a lot of focus this week on hearings regarding TikTok, and I think we talked about TikTok maybe a year ago or something here, but kind of just your thoughts on, there's kind of a twofold approach to this. It's a business, and we're a capitalist country, but at the same time, there's concerns about privacy and the Chinese control over it. Just, do you think we should be banning TikTok in the U.S.?
I think we should be demanding domestic ownership. And here's why. We have strategic infrastructure like ports, where we say we have to know who's running the port. We can't possibly have a company that collaborates if we have a war going on somewhere in the world, collaborates with our opponent, with our enemy. And certainly there are a lot of stories that have been shared about information being manipulated on TikTok, things that should have appeared that didn't appear, and the sort of things China would be embarrassed by that seem to imply China's involved. Certainly, other issues being raised that tried to create anger between communities, which would be a Chinese strategic strategy, is try to set American communities against each other. And of course, we're concerned about all the information that's being collected as well. So there's a host of reasons that we should be concerned about our town square, kind of social media serves as a modern town square, being manipulated with misinformation, propaganda, and perhaps the theft of personal data by a foreign country.
Do you feel like we're too far behind on social media, though, on maybe regulating it, or maybe regulation isn't the right word, but you understand what I'm saying, just in the sense that we have so many concerns about what Facebook is doing and Instagram and Twitter, and we're hearing this all the time. And I know it's trying to be addressed, but can we really get out in front of it at this point?
Well, I would say it's going to be a complicated, evolving threat. The protocols, the algorithms that are used to decide what gets forward to whom are hidden. They aren't very transparent. We probably need to have a lot more transparency and oversight to make sure there's not foreign manipulation there. The storage of data, I mean, data moves so easily, even if it's stored in the US, what prevents somebody, just like access to classified information, every now and then somebody who has access proceeds to flip a switch and send it to the public. And it's like, how'd that happen? Well, we have to recognize this is a very complicated new world and take steps towards understanding those new risks of propaganda, of misinformation, of incitation of hatred, of stealing of personal data, and work to minimize those risks. And that's going to be an ongoing, evolving process.
We have Trump versus Biden 2.0. Seems like the inevitable matchup, but now it is official, going to be Trump versus Biden. I know a lot of Americans probably rolling their eyes at this matchup again. How do you see this next? Oh man, what are we at? 8 months playing out? Because I have a feeling it's going to be interesting.
Well, democracy brings new chapters with every campaign, and we have had before a former president running against an existing president. There's all sorts of different formulations, but the sentiment I hear from so many folks is if they could wave a magic wand, we'd have two new candidates, but we don't. That's not the way it unfolded. That's not the way the primary system of both parties worked. And so, as you clarified, people now understand that we are facing a replay.
And I know you said, of course, you're choosing Biden over Trump. Do you wish the Democrats had put forward a different candidate?
Well, I'll tell you this. It doesn't matter at this point whether I wish there had been another candidate. We have a candidate. His name is Joe Biden. He has passed a tremendous amount of good legislation, from developing our chip factories here in America instead of China, bringing jobs home, taking on inflation, which is now the lowest in the developed world, increase in employment, where our unemployment rate is now the lowest in the developed world. I mean, the economy still has a ways to go. We're all concerned about the price of housing and the price of drugs, but Joe Biden is putting forward ways to address that. And of course, I'm urging us to go even faster and further by getting the hedge funds out of the housing business and negotiating every drug for every person, just like other countries do, to take on those two big costs. And certainly the Biden administration is laying out plans that go in the direction of both of those.
We obviously
Hey,
have a lot
Brandon,
of
I just got time for like one more question.
Okay, we have a lot of Trump supporters, obviously, in Oregon, a lot of Biden supporters too. But I want to speak on behalf just right now of Democratic voters who are going to be looking to people like you to defend them against what they consider a danger in the White House in Donald Trump. What can you do from your position to protect the country for those people who feel that way?
Well, let me start by saying we have way too much tribal partisan warfare. We need a lot more common sense problem solving. I am very concerned because of Trump's authoritarian impulses and his support of making it harder for targeted groups to vote. To me, that's very un-American. You want to enable everyone to have access to the ballot. Certainly, we should have the opportunity for early voting and vote by mail nationwide so that there aren't election day shenanigans that we're seeing in so many other states that aren't as kind of far-sighted in it as Oregon has been. But I'm also really concerned about Trump's celebration of dictators, including, for example, in Hungary, and his apparent love affair with Putin, who is a horrific dictator who has launched a terrible war against Ukraine. And Trump saying that he would support Putin attacking other European countries just makes me wonder, just like how can he even take an oath to the U.S. Constitution when he's essentially a champion for Russia?